So last time on Beauty and Black Child, Jules finds out about Body and gets a decoy. War is declared on the whole family. Charles is back from the dead. Confessions are made, and Kimmy is on 10 looking for Sylvie. You want to know what happens next? You better buckle up and stay tuned. Hey, y'all. It's Lighten Up with Letitia. I'm Letitia, your host, and we're back with the next two episodes of Beauty in Black. This is part two, and these are going to be episodes 11 and 12. 11 is Up Against the Wall. And, child, we start off with Jules, Officer Alex, and Officer Traxon. I had to look up his name. And they're getting updates, giving out orders, because these two cops are moonlighting for him. They told him, or Jules told them to find Kimmy. They told him that the DA is on the case, but they have all the footage and all the cameras and everything, and they said that Debo is on lockdown. So Jules tells them to go and look for Rain, go talk to Rain, because if they find Rain, then they will find Kimmy. And then when he hangs up, he's just like, he's in disbelief. He just cannot believe that Kimmy has outsmarted him. But she has. Now back at Olivia, child, she got Tenderoni Tony with her. He brings her some coffee, asks her if everything's okay, wants to know if he can do anything for her. And she's like, no, just sit there and look pretty. And unfortunately, it's gonna be for the last time for him. So she tells him, now listen, tell me what happened, because this is where we find out that Olivia is the one, the culprit behind the guys that tried to come and rob Horace. Now, Angel and Kimmy thought they were setting up Horace, but it was really Olivia who had the master plan in place to try to rob him. But Horace was too smart for that. He blew them all away. So basically, this is a botched job that was set up by little Tenderoni Tony here, and he did not get the outcome that he was supposed to get for Olivia. And she's basically like, listen, you were supposed to help me with this. If I can't trust you to help me with this, basically, like, child, what do I need you for? I mean, but he kept saying, like, listen, they never reported back to me, the robbers. They never reported back to me. They never came to the warehouse. And so she is convinced that basically Tony betrayed her and that he knows too much, and therefore she's going to miss laying with this young lad. So he starts begging, she can't stand that. And she says, I don't like sad goodbyes. And you know what you need to do? Get in the bag. He's kind of confused at first. Get in the bag. So two goons come in with this huge bag for him to literally get himself into. She kept yelling, get in the bag, get in the bag. This man is trembling and everything. Seriously, he had to open up his own bag, get in the bag, zip himself up, and then they popped him on the top and he fell to the floor. But guess what? There's no blood on the carpet. That's the reason why he had to get in the bag. I'm like, that is diabolical that he would have to take his own self as the trash out. Crazy. But moving on. Varney and Horace are meeting to go over the numbers because Horace wants to know about this will. So Varney explains to him that he has the controlling shares, but that Norman, his brother, his ex-wife Olivia, and his two sons, Roy and Charles, also have voting rights. And he also mentions how cunning their father, Horace and Norman's father, was in writing it. And he specified that Class B felonies would disqualify them from getting any shares. You could see his wheels turning thinking about Norman when he asked the question. So someone running a criminal organization will probably be disqualified, right? Now Varney tries to get in his head, but Horace is too smart for that. He said, no, if I wanted to tell you what I was thinking, I would tell you. So moving on, Horace then sends a photo of Angel to Jules and then calls him and asks him to go and find this young lad. First he asked, did he know who he was? And here is Jules lying, talking about he don't know who he is. His officers don't know who he is. But we all know damn well that Jules knows exactly who Angel is. But Horace tasks Jules with finding Angel, and he reveals that Angel is most likely still in a stolen vehicle. Now, Horace on the line lying too, right? Talking about Angel stole his watch at the hospital while he was there visiting. When in truth, child, he been got that watch back, okay? And so he tells Jules, listen, don't do nothing to him. I just want to talk to him. Now, meanwhile, at the hospital, We're at the first hospital. Officer tracks in, and Alex find out the rain has been moved. And the people at the hospital, they don't even know where. So Jules calls them to get the update first of all. And they're basically like, okay, you need to go find Rain. But also you need to go find Angel because someone is looking for him. And they gave him the plate number, or I'm sorry, he gave them the plate number and again tasked them to go find Angel. Now, meanwhile, Charles and Varney goes to Charles's house to go warn him that Horace is up to something. And he believes that Horace may be trying to cut him out of the will. Now, Charles is like, well, he can't do that. He said, okay, well, he may not be able to cut you out, but he can increase his own shares. And he talked about the terms of that will and how he warned him about the felony thing. So he said, well, just you out here living wild. You just need to be careful because we don't want you to get caught up in a sting, maybe when you're going to go buy your pharmaceuticals and things like that. And Charles, I promise you, he just takes nothing seriously. Nothing seriously at all. He doesn't care what Varney is talking about. He's not taking heed. And Varney asked the right question. Why do I even bother with you? That's what I'm wondering. Why are you bothering with this fool who does not care about you? He does not care about nothing. Let that little fool let him go to his own demise in peace because why are you trying to rescue somebody that don't want to be saved? He don't want to be saved. Okay. Anyway, Norman, actually Jules calls Norman. But the first thing Norman says is where's Debo? Because he is trying to figure out who he's still worried about his wife because his wife is dead. And so he wants to get back at this person who they're saying has taken his wife out. But Jules is calling for a completely different reason. He asked Horace if Harold has said anything to him and that he needs to visit his brother because they want to make sure Harold hasn't said anything to him. He said, I just got the strangest call from your brother, requesting a Dominican kid. And Norman is like, oh, okay, so that's par for the course for Horace. He always loved him some Dominican women. But Jules revealed, no, but this is a guy. So Norman is a little confused by that, like, interesting. He said, but also this guy stole his watch. So Norman says, well, I feel sorry for him because the way I feel about my wife is the way my brother feels about his watch. And so that dude is going to be done for if he indeed stole it. So, next thing you know, Jules ends up, he says the wrong thing. He basically says like Norman needs to get over the fact that his wife is gone. And I don't think he really truly meant it like that, but it doesn't matter because Norman heard it like that. Norman is doing the go off. And he's again asking for Debo. Get me Debo. Tell me where he is because why? My wife is dead. Oh, child. Now, meanwhile, Mallory is in the office. Jillian, of course, is there. And Mallory's phone rings. Jillian answers, and we find out as Lena, the lawyer. And she is the lawyer that is responsible for the class action suit against Beauty in Black. Now, she tells Mallory, like, well, I was thinking about that job offer. And Mallory's like, yeah, I knew you'd come around. She was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in it. And I'm thinking, well, then, girl, why did you bring it up? That was a stupid way to start the conversation. But anyway, she called to inform Mallory that her commercials have indeed been working. And now her plaintiff list is up to 64 people who are willing to add themselves to this class action suit. So she brings up, Lena does, settlement. Don't you, we can make this go away. Don't you want to settle this? And Mallory is like, why? First of all, why are you not talking to our legal team? Why are you not talking to my father-in-law about this? Why are you bothering me with this mess? And Lena's like, well, because we know down deep, we know for real, you the real boss. And so but I think she must be trying to trip Mallory up because to me, I felt like that was a valid question from Mallory. Why are you not talking to the legal team about a legal matter? But she's adamant that we can settle this, we can make this go away. And then Mallory was done talking to her. There was some sirens going on in the background, and she said, girl, you hear that? You hear that? Go chase those and get the F off my phone. I know that's right, Mallory, because Lena wasn't making no sense. But anyway, um, Norman is now meeting with Harold, child. Now he on to the second brother. And the first question, of course, is what happened to your hand? Now we know what happened to his hand. Him out here getting caught up, wanting to know more about money than it is about getting away or getting out of this life. And so, I mean, I'm not gonna say you deserve it, but I'm just saying some things just kind of go with the territory. You never win when you play dirty. That's what Nene said. Okay, shout out to Nene Leaks. So anyway, it was revealed then that he did tell Norman that Horace was asking about Norman and Jules. And he claims that he didn't say anything. He was like, I'm your friend. He even gave condolences to Norman on his wife and everything. So Norman pours him a drink. And then all of a sudden his phone rings or phone buzzes with a message. And Norman told him to go ahead and check that. He said, no, that's okay. I'd rather be here, I'd rather give you my undivided attention, basically. And Norman was like, no, check your messages. You need to check your messages. And I kind of felt like, dang, this is kind of deja vu because the way he was so aggressive in telling him to check those messages was the same way the horse was telling him to take the red one, the red cigar, and not the regular ones. But when he does look at his messages, he sees that it is a photo of his college age daughter away at school. So we know that this is a threat on his family. And Norman is telling him, "Now I'm gonna ask you one last time. What What did you discuss basically with my brother?" Now Harold over here lying and crying, crying and lying because the truth is he did tell Horace the tea about Jules and Norman, but he is promising that he has not said anything because he doesn't want Norman to do anything to his daughter. But Norman reminded him, listen, now that his wife is gone, he doesn't care about anything. And if he finds out that he's lying to him, child, it's gonna be over for him, Dunzo, and all that. But he tells him to go ahead and drink up. And Harold was shaking and shaking. I'm like, I know that bourbon was shaking and not stirred by the time it got to his lips, okay? And they did drink together. And Norman even said, cheers to life. Moving on. So, um, Roy, I'm sorry, not well. Actually, Roy was walking in the hallways. He said he was getting ready to go to lunch, and Mallory stops him and says, "Hey, are you going to go see Lena?" So she's trying to stop him from going to see Lena because Roy don't know how to do nothing. He always effing stuff up. But she shows him a video of him dismissing the victims at that protest. Remember, when he got into it right before he met Lena. But Roy does not care, and he brings up that stupid question again: "Who are you sleeping with?" Like, first of all, that was just so out of place to say that, but he still wants to know. So then he leaves out like, whatever, Mallory, I'm leaving. So like he was going off to go see Lena. I don't know if that's who he's actually going to go see, but he was going off. Next thing you know, she calls in Calvin. She's like, I need you to go and follow Roy. But Calvin was like, I'd rather be with you. Ooh, yeah. So he want to stay there with her. And she like, no, I need you to go and see what Roy is doing. And so he starts being very facetious in his speech and saying things like he was, how he does. He was coming on to her and saying, oh, then he mentions something like, oh, are you going about to cry? Don't cry. Don't cry. Dry your eyes. Here. Okay, I'm just playing. But he pulls out of his pocket her panties from the other night and then leaves her standing there and he walks off. And then, of course, there's a stupid conversation between Calvin and Jillian in the hallway. They are the worst characters ever. Like, I cannot stand whenever they come on the screen. But this time, Jillian did threaten to tell Roy that Calvin was sleeping with Mallory. And he double dog dares her. Anyway, now meanwhile, Angel behind is still driving that stolen car and he gets pulled over, child, by Traxon and Alex. He goes to reach in the glove compartment of a car that's not his. So I'm like, what registration are you looking for? Anyway, moving on. And of course, there's a blicky in there. So they're like, hands up, get out the car. They get him out of the car. They take him to a secret warehouse location. And they leave him tied up in the back seat in this warehouse location. He out there screaming, begging, hoping that like somebody will appear, somebody come and save him. And here comes Horace, just a strolling with his cane, coming out. He opens up the door, gets Angel out of the car, and good thing he does because the officers, Alex and Traxton, are trying to listen. But of course, when they get out of the car, they can't hear anything of what is going on. So he sees Horace and immediately he starts to flirt. And so Horace then reveals that that trap house that Kimmy and Angel was gonna rob him in was actually set up for Kimmy and Angel to live in. He was like, the purpose was, I take care of you, you take care of me. It would have been a sweet deal for you, And we can see that at this point, he asks Angel, tell me everything you know about Kimmy. And you can see that he is putting together some type of plan, which we won't find out until the next episode. Now, meanwhile, Mallory and Varney are in the office and they're discussing Lena and the court case. And he suggested that they hire a set of power attorneys that will basically scare the bejesus out of the victims. And that law firm is called Lawson, Wright, and Mason. But here goes Varney again, in my opinion, talking out of turn and telling Mallory that she needs to have a conversation with Horace. Again, talking about the stipulations of that will. Now I'm like, sir, I don't think it's safe for you to just be out here telling all of Horace's secrets and what he has going on, because I'm like, how is that even going to work for you when you work for him? It's just so very weird. But anyway, so she decides, okay, I'll talk to him or whatever. They get up because he's getting ready to leave. And very weirdly, Mallory says, "Oh, you're doing such a great job," and she gives him a hug. Now we know Mallory is very stoic, very unfeeling, so the thought of her even hugging anybody was just out of place. And he was kind of like, "Okay," but she hugs him, but she does so to try to make Calvin, who is outside of the door, but it's glass so they can see inside, trying to make him jealous. But unbeknownst to her, here come her raggedy husband running in because now she's caught his attention. And of course, what's his line? Are you effing my wife? So now he's accusing the two of them of sleeping together. And we know that, child, that's barking up the wrong tree when it comes to Varney. He's definitely not interested in Mallory. Now he's interested in your brother, sir, but not your wife. So Roy, he don't know how to act. He acting crazy. He's accusing them. He's telling them, hey, meet me outside and all this other kind of stuff. I'm like, are we in a bar or is this a business? Now he does go off finally and leaves out. And you know what he goes to do, which by the way, it is what he was just doing. He just got finished sniffing that stuff, so he already on one. So he leaves out, and Mallory tries to reassure Varney, like, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. Now, meanwhile, Kimmy, remember, she had been summoned to Roy's hotel room at the St. Josephine's or Josephine's Hotel or whatever it was called. And while she arrives, she is talking to Rain on the call, and Rain is trying to stop her from making any kind of rash decisions. But she knows by now that Kimmy is on one and she is not listening to anything that she's saying. But also, why does Rain keep threatening that she's going to get up from that hospital bed? She cannot walk. She can't do nothing. She's doing too much. She's just out here giving empty threats, trying to tell Kimmy to calm down. But there's no stopping her at this point. So she knocks. And like I just told y'all, Roy was sniffing that stuff. So he opens up the door for her and he starts talking crazy to her like he always does. But she blurts out, "Where is my sister?" Now, she calls him by his name. He's like, "How do you know my name?" Whatever. She don't care nothing about that. She like, "Your name is Roy. Your wife's name is Mallory. Your daddy's name is Horace. But I don't give a damn about that. Where is my sister?" Now, he does not know what she's talking about. But he don't like that she talking all crazy. So, she says finally to him, "Well, you never mind, because you too stupid. They would never trust you with anything anyway." He gets up in her face and they start talking about, "You think you're the dominant one? Oh, you think you're the dominant one?" Child, the way she slapped his face, child, she slapped fire out of his ass. Okay, slapped him. When he hit the ground, she took a bottle, knocked him upside the head once and twice. Then they got to tumbling on the floor. She lost her shoe. And then He finally got up, went towards the window, and was like, "Dang, you hit hard. I'll give it to you. You showed you can't hit hard like an MF, right?" She took a running start, ran into him, and pushed him out of this glass window at this high rise hotel. He goes tumbling out of the window, and the episode goes off. That was the end of episode 11, called Up Against the Wall. And we get right back into episode 12, which is called Hot Seat. And at this point, it's nighttime. So she done left Roy. She ain't thought about Roy. I don't know where he is. He on the ground somewhere. But it's nighttime at this point, and she goes back to Delinda's house. I don't know what she's looking for, but she's looking for something rumbling through Delinda's stuff. The house is already disheveled, and now it look a hot mess. But she hears the dogs barking and hears somebody outside, so she ducks behind this sofa. And actually, officers Alex and Traxon come in, and I don't know what they're looking for either. But Jules told them to go there to see what was up. Well, they get to talking and say, "Oh my gosh, so Kimmy did all this," and Alex was like, "Well, I'm not really surprised. I mean, with the way they treat him, you know how they treat him." And look, Traxon like, "My name is Bennett, and I ain't in it. I don't know what you're talking about. All I do is collect my money, and I close my eyes and shut my mouth." I said, "That is a anyway, just very terrible." But anyway, finally, Alex calls Jules, tells him basically ain't nothing there. Um, and they also informed him that Angel had a scrambler on so that they didn't get anything when it came to Angel. And they basically left with nothing. They left out, and then when the coast was clear, Kimmy left out as well. Now, meanwhile, Horace and Angel are still talking. Like I said, now it's dark outside. They're still talking, and by now he's told the whole story of how he knows Kimmy, how it came about that Kimmy, him, and Rain even got into this life. It talked about the club life, the stuff that was going on there, as well as the debts that they owe. And then he starts begging for his life because he was like, he just wants out. They all just want out of this life. So Horace at first was like, "Well, I don't know why I should keep you alive at this point. You give me the information." But then he succumbs and says, "But I have the craziest crush on you." So, he is still feeling Angel, and he just, because, he's so cute and everything. Angel, thank your Dominican parents that you so cute out here, because that saved your life. And all of a sudden, Horace just walks off. Angel like, "Hey, hey, hey, wait, wait, wait." Now he is still handcuffed, y'all. He walked off. Next thing you know, Angel started running. Now, uh, child, now we over at Charles's house again. Barney shows up unannounced, looking wild, and clearly Charles is busy because he came to the door in his robe, looking like he is very much like, what is going on? But he wants to tell him about Horace and not Horace, but he wants to tell Charles that Roy, he had that run in with Roy, and Roy is going to tell Horace that him and Mallory have been sleeping together, which then brings up a suspicion from Charles that he might be sleeping with Mallory. Now he knows doggone well he has no interest. Barney has no interest in Mallory at all whatsoever. But at this point he's like, "No, nah, I don't trust you," or whatever. And if you don't mind, I have company basically, and you need to leave. And Barney was like, "I'm not going nowhere." So Charles is like, "Okay, well then just enjoy the show then." And he commences to go back to his bedfellow, all while Barney sits on the couch and listens. Weird. Anyway, Kimmy and Kimmy sneaks back to the hotel to go grab a bag. Next thing you know, Angel must have ran all the way home, because here he is at the motel as well. He comes in, but he is still handcuffed. So he tells Kimmy to get the key out of the bag. They unhandcuff him. Next thing you know, and she's about to leave. She's about to leave. She's like, "I gotta go find my sister," but they hear a pounding at the door. So Kimmy goes to go hide, and of course, it is Jules. Jules is looking for Kimmy. He doesn't believe that Angel doesn't know where she is, and get to asking her what is going on. He busts Angel in the chest, and then lets out 6 whole shots in the bed to make sure if she is under there, he got her. So, um, Angel, of course, had to sit there and lie, like, I don't know where she is. I don't know what's going on. But he was like, forget all that. Why does that old man want to talk to you? So, of course, Angel's like, what old man? You know what I'm talking about. He's like, oh, that old man Horace. Okay, well, I stole his watch at the hospital. The same story that Horace gave Jules as well. And he swears he had never met Horace before then, though. And he was just up there to steal, not to visit anybody. But he was like, yeah, I need to go get ready so we can get you paid and everything. And then Jules does indeed leave. Thank God. Kimmy comes out of the closet. Okay. And she was not up under that bed. But Rain called her at that point too to see where she was and told her that she pushed Roy out of the window. And then while Rain is on the phone with her, Horace walks in. Now Angel is getting ready to go into the club, and Horace walks into the hospital inquiring about Kimmy. Now Rain keeps her on the phone, but she don't really trust Horace like that. And in this life, they don't really know who to trust. So she's kind of like, no, she's not gonna say anything. No, I'm okay. But he introduces himself to her, asked if everything was okay. He started asking again about Kimmy and all that she knows about Kimmy. And when she refuses, he says that pain has a way of changing people's minds. And why does he begin to start poking her leaking, hurting, healing booty with his cane? And she hollering out for, in pain and everything. Now, mind you, Kimmy is still on the phone, and then all of a sudden, her freaking phone dies. Kimmy's does. She grabs her purse and, of course, without thinking, just runs out. And who's out there to get her? Child, Traxon. Traxon catches her, snatches her, throws her in the car, and he calls Jules to tell him that he has her. Put her on the phone. So she gets on the phone. She's like, what? Where is my sister? Now he's mad about the fact that she took out Delinda and Body, because now he has nobody to sit up front at his club and to take care of his business. And meanwhile, his wife is like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be getting ready for this party. We hear her in the background. Now, Kimmy was talking crap on the phone, but eventually she does say she's sorry. And because when he started threatening her sister, she got real humble and was like, okay, I'll give you whatever answers you need when we get to you. Now, Mallory is in the office burning the midnight out oil when Charles calls her and invites her out for a drink because he wants to talk about Marnie Child. Now, meanwhile, it's a dude in the shower. The dude he just got finished with was in the shower. So he claims he wants to talk about what's going on with the family. So she's like, meet me at Stein and Stag, which is some really nice restaurant too. And then calls Jillian to go and make reservations. Again, we see another stupid scene with Jillian and Calvin teasing each other because they're just annoying. But anyway, at the club, Angel goes to work and see that Officer Alex is at the door. So he get to asking about Delinda, even though he know where Delinda is. But he's like, I don't know, I'm just here for security. So when he goes to the locker rooms, you see, child, we saw all kinds of balls and booty in the locker room. I was like, ooh, well, dang. Anyway, I was like, is this all the Queen's men or is this a Beauty in Black? But anyway, this girl Felicia, who's another stripper, busts up in there asking where that be at. She was talking about Kimmy. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. She was like, I know you be hanging around with her. You know where she is. You know something. And then she finally does go out and leave. But then Dustin, who's another male dancer, comes over and starts talking to him, giving him the club updates. Basically, that Body and Delinda have been missing. They ain't been in the club. And then also, he brings up Salvo and how he told him what happened to Salvo, that the car got, shot up, and also that it got burnt up because he was behind him. But he was like, he got the hell out of there. But he was like, but I got that dude's address, talking about Charles. I mean, and my thing is, who in the club doesn't seem to have Charles' address, because he just be bringing strangers all up and through his house. But anyway, so he said, we need to go back, and get this money. And Angel was like, nah, y'all left me hanging the last time, and I'm not fooling with y'all no more. Now, meanwhile, while speaking to Charles, he escorts his company out while Varney is literally sitting there on the couch, y'all. talking about, did you enjoy the show? I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, he said, this is not true about Mallory. He said, I don't want to do this with you like this anymore. So Varney is like alluding to the fact that he was like, well, he didn't even just allude to the fact. He said, I love you. And he was alluding to the fact that he wanted to have a real relationship with Charles. But Charles does not give a care. He does not care. And I'm like, ladies and men, whoever, like, if somebody is telling you they don't want you, why do you want them? Why do you continue to tell? They're not going to change their mind, and you don't want to be out here begging for somebody's love. I'm like, just stop. So here's Varney. Sometimes you're the worst man, talking to Charles. I just want to love you. And Charles is like, no, you don't want to love me. You want to possess me. I don't want to be your possession. And I heard that. Okay, I know that's right. But the truth is, Charles is an F boy, and Varney, you need to leave him alone. Now, meanwhile, right after that, Charles does indeed go and meet up with Mallory at this place to have drinks. And Calvin and Jillian are in the back having a stupid sparring contest. Again, I don't take them seriously. I don't want to talk about them. Um, but Jillian did threaten to F up Calvin's life. Okay, he's like, well, then just do it. So anyway, Charles brings up attorney Varney saying that Roy told him that they were, doing the deal. Mallory's like, I don't want to hear this mess. Absolutely not. You know that that's not the case. I'm married to your brother. What kind of woman you think I am? We're not even about to do all that. And if you keep on talking, I'm leaving. And she was like, and by the way, why are you so why are you so turned up about it? He was like, no, I was just asking because I want to know. She said, no, you seem like you really kind of pressed about that situation. But she was like, I'm done with this fake conversation. And she does indeed get up to leave. Now, meanwhile, Kimmy and Traxon, they are still on their way to go see Jules. And so she asked him, do you know where my sister is? How much money are they paying you? Because I know where some additional money is. She's talking to distract him. And meanwhile, she is like slowly putting on her seatbelt. Now he is sensing that something is up with her. She's like, he's telling her, listen, whatever Kimmy you thinking, you better not do it. You don't want to try and unalive both of us in this car. And meanwhile, he's saying this to her that she better not try anything, but he's speeding up and going faster and faster and faster. Next thing you know, she put on the seatbelt, then she pepper sprays him, child. Then takes hold of the wheel. Of course, they tell him the car goes tumbling all over the place, goes off the road, and it ends up hanging halfway over an overpass, upside down, and you can see where Kimmy is trying to get free. But one false move, and it's going to be over for both of them. And that is how the 12th episode ends. So if you made it this far, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. We are into this Beauty in Black thing. Don't forget to check out our panel discussion on episode 11 that we just did this past Saturday. And then also, we should be doing episode 12 as a live panel discussion sometime this week. So make sure you hit your notification bell so that you know whenever I go live and whenever I post a new video. So until next time, this thing's getting juicy and it's getting heated up. And I'm telling you, you are not going to want to miss the next couple of episodes. So until next time, holla.